Welcome to ARDEX's Ask the Expert. My name is Craig Morris, Business Development Manager for ARDEX Finished Surfaces. Today we're going to be talking about the top 5 FAQs we get in regards to ARDEX Finished Surfaces. So when it comes to the top 5 FAQs that we get, the first one is our work practices. We often get the question, what are the best work practices when it comes to placing or successfully placing an ARDEX finished surface? The second FAQ we're going to talk about is K523. That question is, why do we have 2 different water ratios for 523? Third question is going to be related to tooling. We often get the question, what are the best tools to use, specifically the metals when it comes to cutting the material? Our fourth question concerns grout coats. Specifically, does ARDEX recommend the use of a grout coat over our polishable overlays? And finally, our fifth FAQ we're going to be wrapping up with is, what do we typically recommend for protecting the surface? Are we recommending sealers or guard products over ARDEX polishable overlays? So going back to our first FAQ, work practices, we actually encouraged about this because we want to make sure we drive home to people the most important part of the polishable overlay process is the placement of the material. If the placement of the material is messed up, if that is not done correctly, there's no amount of grinding or processing that can save the installation. So we want to make sure we get that right. And the 3 ways to get that right is to make sure we understand logistics, manpower, and duties. And what we mean by logistics is make sure that everything is ready and accessible to go. The mix station is set up, that you have all the proper tooling, you have all the bags stationed in a manner that you don't have to be running around trying to locate material. Related to that, we want to make sure we have necessary manpower. Polishable overlays are not an installation where you can get by on the cheap. You cannot skimp on manpower. You have to have adequate manpower. And that manpower has to be assigned their duties. You cannot have an individual mixing who is cutting open bags and also adding water and also mixing. You have to have individuals for each separate stage of the placement process. The reason we want this is to make sure that they pay attention to their assigned duty and that they don't get confused. A lot of times we'll see guys who are cutting open bags and adding the water, and a lot of times that'll lead to them messing up the count. They forget how many bags of material they added. It's imperative that you have the necessary manpower, and those manpower has their assigned duties. Our second FAQ regards the ARDEX K523. Why do we have 2 water ratios for it? Well, quite simply, we have 2 water ratios for what we call reveal versus placement. The lower water ratio yields a slump or a mixture that is a much thicker material. It's still very easy to place and spread and smooth. It still has healing capabilities, but it is definitely much thicker. The reason for this is it allows the aggregate to sit much higher in the mix so that when you go to grind it the next day, that aggregate is readily revealed. The higher water ratio, on the other hand, allows the material to be placed very easily. The problem with that is that since it's a thinner material, less viscous, that aggregate has a tendency to fall lower into the mix, and it's more difficult to find that aggregate when you start to grind it. So it really comes down to a question of, do I want to have an easier on the back end with grinding or easier on the front end with placing the material? That's a decision you have to make based on your requirements. The third question we get is regard to tooling. A lot of times we get specifically the metals, the cutting phase. They'll ask us, should I be using a soft bond or hard bond diamond with the metal tooling? ARDEX materials are very, very hard. And the conventional wisdom within the industry is when you have a hard material, you cut it with a soft bond metal. That's what we're going to recommend. Soft bond metals for the ARDEX materials, and quite frankly, if you let the ARDEX material set up more than 72 hours, you may actually have to go to a super soft bond as well. Our fourth FAQ is regards to grout coat. Do we need a grout coat? Well, the question you should be asking is, what are you trying to accomplish? Are you doing a grind and seal, or are you doing a full polish? If you're doing a grind and seal, really a grout coat isn't necessary because you're going to be applying a film forming seal over the top, and that's where you're going to get your shine. That's where the sheen and the DOI comes from. If you're going to do a full polish, then we absolutely recommend the use of a grout coat to fill in pinholes. If you don't use a grout coat with that, you still get a very nice look, but you're not going to get as high as a DOI as you would with a grout coat, given that, as with any type of cementitious material or even polished concrete, you are going to get pinholes in the material. If you do decide to do a full polish, then we're going to recommend you use ARDEX ARDEFIX. That is one of our grout coat materials. We also are testing a slurry system, and that should be coming soon. So reach out to us. We'll give you more information on that as the testing develops. The last thing we're going to talk about today is the question, how do I protect it? How do I protect the ARDEX finished polishable overlay? Again, that comes down to what was specified. Are you doing a mechanical or are you doing a topical finish to this? Mechanical meaning a full polish. Are you taking it all the way up to a 3000 grit? If you're doing that, then we're going to recommend the use of a guard product. And the ARDEX guard product is a PC finish. If you're going to stop lower in the polishing process and do a grind and seal, then we're going to recommend that you use a film forming sealer like the ARDEX PC60. The advantages of the PC60 over the guard product are simply it gives you more time to deal with stains. Any type of film forming sealer is going to give you a lot more open time for that stain to be cleaned up. The downside, of course, is it doesn't give you the same type of look, the same type of pop, the same type of clarity as a full polish system. It will have a filmy look. So that's it for today in regards to these 5 FAQs. But we encourage you to reach out to us with additional questions you may have. Some things we may have not covered today. If you don't want to wait for the next FAQ, Ask the Expert, then I encourage you to reach out to myself or Tim Ellison. We can bring you up to speed about product offerings. We also encourage you to go to our website to look at some of the videos we have out there, to encourage you to do your homework before you get on the job site. And again, anything that leads to a question, reach out to myself or Tim Ellison. We'd be happy to answer for you. So that's it for today. Stay safe, and we'll look forward to talking to you later.